I'm Michelle McVitie, and I am Mom the Manager. I am an author, a speaker, a child life specialist, and a parent and corporate consultant.
Hi, I'm Emanuela Hall, and I am the owner of Creative Wellness. I am an expressive arts coach, an actress, a playwright, a yoga instructor, and a mommy of two boys.
Fantastic. So we've got two kids, and we're here to support moms, which I think we need more of that. So today we're going to be talking about creativity and motherhood. And that may not be something that we usually put together as creativity and motherhood, but both of us want to help people find their joy or find their spark. And that comes from taking care of yourself and doing things that fill your cup. And creativity is your livelihood. You've lived and breathed creativity. I actually used to be a dance teacher myself. I started dancing when I was very little. I've made jewelry. Creativity has always been something that has been that's been in my life, and it brings me joy. So let's talk to moms about how they can incorporate creativity into their lives. So I guess the question is, why is it important? Why is creativity important? Why do you want moms to start being creative?
Well, I think I want everyone to be creative, but
Yes, I
I
agree.
do especially want moms to be creative because I think moms, well, I know for myself and mom friends that I have and moms that I speak to, we feel like when we became moms, we lost something or something about a piece of us went missing. And like you call it the joy and I call it the spark. And it's really hard to name it. But I found that it wasn't until I started to be creative again and go back to the things that always brought me the joy, that's when the spark came back. And that's when I even healed a lot of the pain and trauma that I felt through childbirth and early postpartum days, which no matter what your story is, no matter what, every mom has a struggle, whether it's fertility or, the labor didn't go the way you wanted, or you struggled with breastfeeding. And, and as our kids grow, there's always a struggle. But the art or just being creative and expressing those feelings does help you heal and grow and move past it and make sense of it. Like we were talking before, not everybody can go to therapy, or needs a therapist. So this is sort of a way of getting it out there, and it validates it that it was real, and helps you move past it and just grow from the whole experience, because it's like the biggest experience we all go through. No matter what you do, I think there's nothing on earth that changes you like becoming a parent
Yeah,
that I've experienced or heard of. And so it's such an experience to be documented and to be expressed, I think, through
absolutely.
whatever medium you choose.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the piece that I get a lot of questions about children, about teenagers, about kids and emotion, and that their emotion comes out and it's usually through unhelpful ways, right? Whether they're shutting down and wanting to be in their room, or they're having temper tantrums or whatever, but they're getting it out. And it's how do we help them get it out in a positive way? And it's the same thing with us. I can have this emotion and I can feel bad. I can go on social media and see that somebody else is actually coping very well and they have a beautiful home that's sparkling white and all the children are dressed
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
in the
For that
same
second
outfit.
they took the photo.
Right? But we get stuck in that headspace because we have this emotion. We've had these experiences that cause emotion in us. And then emotion causes us to act a certain way and behave in certain ways. So you can do helpful things or unhelpful things. And the piece that I love about why creativity can be a healing process, because I'm all about therapy, and it could be something you do hand in hand, right? I see my therapist, and then this is part of my therapy as well. Or just learning to process your emotion. And it doesn't need to be through talking, it can be through drawing a picture, it can be through dance, it can be through just being creative. Maybe you're just doing a fancy face and you want to express yourself through some new types of makeup, or who knows what that is, but it's just providing the opportunity to do it and having it available, right? So I think that's a big blocker for a lot of people. What was the phrase that you said about, being an artist with a capital A? What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I get that all the time. I'm not creative, or
Hmm.
I'm not an artist. Well, you're into that stuff. And I used to believe that. I used to think like art was reserved for people who had these superhuman genius strengths,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
we think of Shakespeare and we think of Picasso, but we are innately creative just because we're human beings. Like
Yeah.
it says, I mean, if you want to get biblical, it's the first line in the Bible is like God created humans, like God
Yeah.
created.
Yeah.
Creativity is like a divine practice. And I was thinking, not only are we humans, but we're moms who physically create
Yes,
life.
I
Like we're
know.
just born to do that. That's what one of the things that makes humans separates us from other species. There's not a lot
Mhm.
of other species that create the way that we do. And so just to get that out of your head that like, I'm not an artist, I'm not creative. And I think the big piece is we focus on the end result. We focus on like the product.
Mhm.
Like I know that visual art is not my thing. My sister's a beautiful artist, a very talented artist. I can't even draw a stick person.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I don't love doing it. I
Mhm.
still love to paint with my kids, and like I have those adult coloring books because sometimes that's the way I want to express myself. I don't always want to get up and do a dance or sing a song, but it's not about is it good or bad. Yeah, you might not get paid to do it
Yeah.
yet, and but that's not the point. Um, Elizabeth Gilbert wrote the book Big Magic, and which is a great book for anyone that's even remotely thinking about creativity. And she just said, like, you just do it anyways,
Yeah.
even if nobody's watching, even if nobody cares, even if, I mean, we were talking about that too as entrepreneurs. You just do it. Even
Yeah.
doesn't matter how it looks. It's more about how it feels to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't all have to be artists with capital A, but we do all need to express ourselves. And like we've spoken about, it can be gardening, arranging
Mhm.
your garden bed. That is super
Mhm.
creative. Or
Mhm.
baking a cake. Like I don't bake. I have to follow the recipe. Like,
Yeah.
I can do math, so I can bake,
Sure.
but I can't
Yeah.
just like think of something and put it in the
Mhm.
oven. It's not
Yeah.
my thing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what it is. And like in musical theater, they say, I remember when I went to theater school, one of my teachers said that the song comes into the story when words fail you.
Mhm.
So you get to it, the character will get to a certain elevated, heightened emotion, and they can no longer just say what they need to say, that they have to sing it. And that's the thing, like talk therapy is great, calling your friends is great, getting that out of your system is great, but there's something about putting your pen to paper or putting your paint to canvas that it's there now. It exists
Mhm.
there, and it's not just a part of me. It's a part of the world, and it helps express it in a way that maybe you can't always explain.
Yeah. And it's shifting energy too, like getting up and having a 1 minute dance party in your kitchen shifts your energy, right? And when you're busy, 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 and you've kind of jumped into motherhood. And I know that for me is something that I really talked a lot about in my book, was that we kind of take on this new role, but I'm not the mom. I'm Michelle. I'm
Mm,
creative. I'm a wife. I'm a speaker. I'm a dancer. Like I have all these things that are part of who I am, and being a mom is part of who I am. But sometimes we just submerge ourselves and we feel so overwhelmed. It's like we're in this snow globe of stress. And when you do your 1 minute dance party, it calms down your snow globe. When you read your book, when you go outside and get your hands dirty and do some gardening, or you go to your yoga and you do some stretching, your body feels better, your mind feels better. And then
mhm.
it's just going to open up opportunities for you to say, hey, how else am I going to do this? this feels really good. And that's the piece too, is that when we are constantly 5 steps ahead or 5 steps behind, we are never in the moment and enjoying the moment. And when we do these things, we have to be mindful of, how do I feel right now? Or how did I feel after I sat down and colored a little bit in that dollar store, coloring book, and realize this actually feels good. So I think the next step is, how do we, one, create the space where we have this, and two, put it in our routine. So if you're looking at a creative space and saying to somebody that's not so creative, what are we looking for? Where do we need to have this space? How do we, even in a small home or a small apartment, where is this space and what does it look like?
I love that piece because we actually just recently moved,
Mhm.
and we have like a front family room now, and we didn't have that in our old house. It was a townhouse. It was just, we were all in one space.
Yeah,
But we don't have any furniture there. We have
yeah,
2 chairs, a piano,
yeah.
a drum, a guitar, and our enough space
Great.
to put a yoga mat down. And
Yeah,
I think some people come over and they're like, "So aren't you gonna do anything in this room?" Like, it used to
yeah,
be just like a sitting room, but we're fortunate that we have that space. So it's a good question, because I'm sure some people are in very small, an apartment or a 2 bedroom. Um, and I don't know that it always has to be. It depends. If you're gonna roll out your yoga mat or dance, you're gonna obviously need a lot of space. But even if you're a visual artist, that's
yeah.
my husband sneaking back, of course. Speaking about space,
Yeah.
so of course, if you live with people, space is hard to come by.
Yeah.
But it's like when people create their prayer sanctuary, or you have a little, even if it's just a little corner with your easel, um, and your paint. And you and I spoke about the children having their Lego corner, which
Yeah.
was mind blowing to me, because my son has a Lego corner, and I'm always like, I want to clean it up, but it's in the corner. No one's stepping on it, so just let him be messy and let that be your space. So if you are able to create that, even if it's like a corner in your bedroom where you can just set up your materials. So in the morning, it's nice. I try to get up early, and then I go and sit in a chair and just write in my journal. So it's not a huge space, but I know when I sit there, that's what I'm here to do.
Yeah. And that's part
And
of your routine. So I think that that's the thing too. It's nice to have a space. I'm lucky to have this space, the room that I'm in right now. And I was able to create that space. Is it perfect and how I want it? No, but it's a working process. But I have a table that is not full of stuff, and I know where everything is. And I think that's the piece, is that maybe you just have a bin, and in that bin is your journal, are some of your art supplies, some things that kind of fill you with joy, and that's where and it can travel with you. And just like the screen that you have behind you, maybe it's just putting up a screen, or it's just labeling that this space, from 2 until 3, I would like to have some quiet time. So what are the children doing at that time? Does my partner understand that this is what I need, or do I just go in there and then everybody runs around me and I'm like, this is my time. I never have enough time. So it's that planning ahead. And then, you talked about a routine, and I think routine is so important, because the purpose of routines is to get a habit started. So if it's not a routine and every day is a mystery to you, one, it doesn't give us a lot of purpose. It wastes a lot of time, which, how many times has a mom said to you, I have no time? If I had $1 for every time I heard that, I'd be on an island. I'd be doing this Zoom from an island.
yeah.
you know, so it's finding that routine, finding your space or what you need to get started, because that's a huge block. Is it's too much work to go and do this, it's too much work to go and do that, it's not part of my routine. So at the end of the day, I'm exhausted, I'm going to sit down and watch some TV, and then I kind of feel deflated, right? And I'm always tired. And a full day of stress is more tiring than a full day of labored work, because it's draining on your body. When you've cried and you've been emotional, you feel exhausted. You haven't done anything but cried, but you're exhausted. So when you're stressed or anxious or depressed all day, it's exhausting. So these little things just raise a little bit of that happiness thermometer, right? A little bit of that spark, a little bit of that joy. And when you do things and you notice, it's like, this feels good. So how do I continue doing that? Make it part of a routine and make it part of your intention, right?
Yeah, I think that that last thing about it, realizing that it feels good. Um, I think the resistance for moms is it's just feels like another thing I have to do.
Yeah.
And people feel that way about self-care in general, like, oh, it's just another, now I missed my yoga class, so now you're stressed that you didn't do it, and it's another thing, and it's another pressure. And so I try to like not put those pressures on me. I try my best to have the routine, but a lot of days it doesn't happen. And especially now, like, we need this routine more than ever, but it's so much harder because you think, well, if my day starts at 6 or it starts at 9, what's the difference? Like,
Right.
I'll just do it when I can do it. But I always go back to my why.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're really, I know every mom just wants to be as present and as like non-reactive as possible towards their kids. If you start to realize that when you do these things for yourself, you're a better mom for it. You're a better, more present human being towards your partner and towards your kids. And so when I pull my ass out of bed in the morning and I'm like, I just want to sleep till the kids wake
Yes.
up, I
Yeah.
remember that, like, every time I do it, I have a way better day.
Yeah.
Like, from like my day being a 2 to my day being an 8 or a 9,
Mm-hmm.
just from that half an hour that I spent in the morning. And it amazes me every time, because I could have a shit day one day and then the next day it's so great. And I'm like, I didn't do much different. Oh, I woke up early and had my
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
amazing.
Yeah. And we get into, our brains are constantly negative. Like, you actually, they have research on all of this stuff. So for a happiness moment, right? Like right now, I'm feeling happy. I'm talking to somebody that's on the same page as me. I'm going to be mindful. I actually have to embrace this emotion for 20 seconds for it to stick. Whereas with negative emotion, it just comes instantly. No problem. So that's why, especially with some people, we just quickly go to the negative because it sticks out the most, right? So we have 5 good things happen. Do we remember those 5 good things? No, we remember the one bad thing that happened, or the
Mm-hmm.
2, and it's just like, forget about it. So I think that's a really good point that you had made, is that we are so self-sabotaging. It's like, I'm going to cut out sugar. So I'm going to feel better. It's just what I'm going to do. And then somebody drops off banana bread on my doorstep because they're a really nice neighbor, you know, and then I eat that banana bread and it's like, well, I might as well just eat the whole loaf because I wasn't
Why
supposed to
you want?
have, yeah, I
Yeah.
shouldn't have had sugar. So I might as well just, and it's like, no, you can have a slice. And maybe that wasn't what you wanted to do, was have any sugar, but you had some. Sit down, have your slice, enjoy it. Don't watch TV or do it while you're, eat it while you're running errands or in your car. Enjoy it. And then we can put that away and say, I had it. But if we self-sabotage and then and then it turns into something else, that's where we need to catch ourselves. And some people need therapy to support them with that. And some people just have to be more aware. That's why having an accountability partner, people that
Mm-hmm.
you can do this with, what are the things that get in the way and what blocks you? So I think what we're saying, it's not, I think, this is exactly what we're saying, is that you are worth it. Life gets busy, but enjoy the moments, right? Don't worry about the end result. Make it part of your routine, and make a space for yourself, and notice how it feels. Is there any last few words before we wrap up that you want moms to know about why give creativity and themselves a chance?
Well, I do, but I'll tack on to one thing about what you just said, and
Yes.
self-care, to take it even to the next level about self-forgiveness and self-love. Like, I
Yes.
spent all of last year doing all the things that involved self-care. I went to physiotherapist, I took care of this, I went to therapy, I did all the things.
Mhm.
And at the end, I was still mad at myself because I didn't reach my
Mm.
weight goal. And then I realized, is it about that number? Like, what is it about that number on the scale? This is totally an aside, but now I'm practicing self-love, because if
Love
I'm
that.
really practicing self-care and trying really, I'm doing the things, I'm going to spinning, I'm doing the exercise, but you know what? I don't believe in cutting out all the, all the sugar, all the chocolate, and I'm
Yeah.
going to eat that. And
Yeah.
so instead of ruminating over the things I haven't done and how I failed, that's not self-care. That's not self-love.
Mm.
But yes, going back to creativity, the question that you asked at the end, why it
Just in
matters.
general, is there anything that you want um, moms to know? And I think that's a great thing to say, is that self-love, because we do talk a lot about self-care, and it does feel like it's something else I need to do. But when you truly love yourself and truly say, no matter what size I am or where I am in my process, I'm worth it. That's what self-love is. And it's about compassion, having compassion for yourself. Stop the judgment, right? We're so hard on ourselves. And then it's a lot of times the self care will not help. It's not going to help when you are feeling bad about yourself, when you really feel like I should be doing this instead of I want to do this. And if you don't want to do it and you feel forced into it, or the only reason why this person on Instagram is doing well is because they do A, B, and C, and if I do those things, it's going to work for me, that's not relevant to you, right?
No.
So I really like that piece about the self-love and trying to do some of that work yourself, right? And
Yeah, don't beat
creativity.
yourself up when you didn't get that
Yeah,
thing in, even if it's that 10 minutes of creativity, because every day is a new day, it's a new chance.
yeah,
And I think the last piece would be like, don't let fear stop you. We're more afraid of the things that we haven't done. So
yeah,
last year, when I reached out to you, I had just written a play called My Breast Self, and I
yeah,
performed it at the Fringe Festival in Hamilton last year. And I hadn't acted in years, since before having my first son. And I was so afraid. Like, I was afraid to share my story. I was afraid that I wasn't a good writer. I didn't know how to act anymore. That people would be like, "Why does she want to tell me this?" Like, and then once you do it, you're not afraid anymore because you're
right.
already doing it.
Yeah,
So if you're afraid of like trying something new, or you don't have to fit into that box. That,
mhm,
like, even for me, it's like, well, I'm a dancer and an actor. I'll never. And now sometimes I want to pick up a ukulele. I never learned
yeah.
how to do that, but it doesn't have to be in your. We're constantly evolving and changing. So everyone has to keep working and keep trying what works for them. Like, every day I'm tweaking my routine and my self-care practices to see maybe what worked for me last year isn't working for me now, and I don't feel connected to that anymore.
Absolutely.
So just as long as you're such a great advocate for that, as long as you're making the space, putting it in your calendar, making the plan, then the rest will just come easily, and it gets easier and easier and easier and easier.
It does. It does. And I think it's just taking that first step and realizing this maybe wasn't a 10 out of 10, but it was more like a 6. And I thought it was going to be a 3 out of 10. Right. And every time I do it, it gets a little bit easier and a little more fun. And this isn't my medium anymore. I loved crocheting. Now it's getting warmer out. I'm actually going to switch it to gardening, or I'm going to switch it to doing something else. And we have so many ways to learn. Some of them are paid, some of them are free. And my best learning moments is with somebody else, when somebody else teaches me, when somebody
Yeah.
else talks to me about even how to bake a cake, or make one of those things that my grandmother used to make. And it's really cool, and it brings back that really nice warm fuzzy feelings, right? So yeah, don't keep yourself in a box and give yourself a chance. And I hope that the moms and the women out there that are watching this realize that they are worth it, that the first step is to take care of themselves. And then the next step is just try it, give it a
Mhm.
chance. And if you don't like it, move on to the next thing, right?
Yeah, and you may surprise yourself. You may be the next Picasso.
You never know. You never
You
know. And
never
if you're
know.
not, the fact that you did it is enough.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
one needs to know. It doesn't need to go on your Instagram
It
profile.
doesn't. No, we don't have to do everything on Instagram. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this was a great chat. I hope everybody got a little bit from it, and stay tuned. We're going to be coming up with way more content for you. Have a great day.